On today's show, Anthony Davis may be available in trade talks. Should the Dallas Mavericks go after him and go all in for a trade? What about Ben Simmons? What are some other trade targets we're going to talk about? We'll talk about all those and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to comment anything below. Let us know, should the Mavs go all in on a trade for Anthony Davis? I'm sure none of you have any opinions on that. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com, Studio 41 and 97.1, The Freak.
Get freaky. Where's all my freaks at?
The day-to-day Davis Dame, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
I mean, we got to start with Disney World. Gosh, protect Mickey Mouse, protect Disney World.
Good
and,
Lord.
What's your Star Wars ride that you really liked down there?
Oh, Rise of the Resistance. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
You remembered that.
The Mavericks played the Orlando Magic tonight. You're listening
No, this afternoon.
Yes, this afternoon. So catch everybody up. Catch me up on this. I was gone this afternoon. I got the whole updates. Just catch us all up on this tip-off.
Yeah, so me and our Locked On Magic host, Philip Rossman-Reich, were texting back and forth today because the Mavericks are flying to Orlando. Josh Green, and the only reason I knew this was Josh Green did an interview on The Freak with Ben and Skin, and they were like, hey, we know you got to go catch a flight because you guys are leaving for Orlando right now. So I knew that early in the morning they were leaving. So they were already in Orlando. All of a sudden, over the weekend, Tropical Storm Nicole starts brewing up over the, I guess, the Atlantic coast. Looks like I'm looking at.
I thought you were about to say.
I'm diving into my Doppler training with this report. So this tropical storm is coming, and essentially what's going to happen is it's going to hit landfall midnight Wednesday going into Thursday. So after the game. So what the NBA did is they're like, all right, we got to get these guys out of here before midnight. So they're going to bump the game up. It was going to be like 6 p.m. Central, and now it's 4:30 p.m. Central start time. So many of you will still be at work. I will probably be in the middle of a meeting when this game starts, which is kind of wild. And the game's going to be super, super early. We went from an 8:45 start against the Nets to now a 4:30 start for the Mavs versus the Magic. So that is a little bit of a change. And hopefully everybody stays safe in Florida. I lived through a couple of those, and it's just scary to live through. All right, the earth may just destroy my house. You just never know.
You made a joke that you're leaning into your Doppler stuff. Did you have somebody back home? If you have one of these people, please shoot me a DM. Did you have somebody back home you went to high school with that's that was on Facebook thinking that they're going to be the next weatherman? Hey, we have rain coming in over this road. And it's
in college. So in college, I went to college at DBU here in Dallas, and there was a kid or a guy that I went to school with in the broadcast department that would chase storms and would chase tornadoes and show us all this footage of tornadoes he chased all around Oklahoma and stuff like that. And it was a big rush for him.
Then your grandma's like, I'm not watching the Weather Channel. I'm watching Alex's post on Facebook. All right.
He's got the real video of it right there. That's what they're hiding from us.
The bigger news for the Magic game, Paolo is questionable, so the Mavs might be able to win if he doesn't play.
They would win even if he played.
I know.
Both these teams can only play clutch games. Apparently, they're 1-2 in the NBA in clutch games, and the Mavs have won 5 of theirs. The Magic have won 1 of their 9 that they've played so far. But all right, let's get into the topic today because Bill Simmons over the weekend put out an episode of his podcast with Kevin O'Connor, and every once in a while, we really get specific and critical of rumors, reports. I don't use this often. Rumor has it. I don't use that very often because I think that there's a difference between rumors and just talk. A lot of times on here, Isaac and I will come on and be like, what about Ben Simmons? What about Bradley Beal? What about these different players that could be available? That's not a rumor. That's just us talking about what could happen. Oh, I would watch the Mavericks with a Ben Simmons trade. I'll just throw his name out there because that would make sense. Okay, well, that's not sourced. There's nothing behind that says the Mavs are thinking about that, the Lakers are thinking about that. Either team is thinking about something of that nature. But Bill Simmons comes out and says, I'm hearing that Anthony Davis may be available, and we know he's plugged into the NBA. He at least has sources in the NBA. He's not necessarily.
KOC confirmed that too, and KOC reports more than Bill does.
Right.
So.
And so when you take that, you're like, okay, well, at the very least, the Lakers are listening to offers. And teams listen to offers on tons of players all the time. That's what they constantly do. How do you think the Kristaps Porzingis trade happened? Where all of a sudden he's like available and the Mavs get him in like a couple hours, right? Because they had already talked about the framework of what a deal would possibly look like. They had already, even when the Knicks weren't even thinking about trading Porzingis, the Mavs and the Knicks had talked about, well, what if you guys ever decide to trade KP? What would it look like? They already had the framework ready, and they were just ready to pull the trigger, and that's what Donnie Nelson did, made that trade, and now here we are. We're still trying to get rid of the ramifications of that trade. But now let's look at Anthony Davis, because now if he is available, why would the Mavs do this?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, as soon as any report like this of a guy like AD comes out, it's like every fan base across the league is like, oh, can we go get him? So it was inevitable that as soon as that pod dropped, we're getting a couple tweets from people. Should the Mavs go all in? And because just to set the table a little bit for where Dallas is at right now, we know at some point they're probably going to swing again for a second star. They did it with KP. They traded off the expiring contracts. They traded the future first round picks. They put Dennis in that deal. It was their first like big swing at a trade with Luka.
Yeah.
Now they, it obviously didn't work out. They're slowly recuperating the rest of their assets. Now you have a handful of first round picks. Now you have a couple expiring contracts again. However you feel about Josh Green, however the league feels about Josh Green,
I feel good things about Josh Green right now. I'm feeling great things.
But it feels like they're retooling again, waiting for the next big swing. And you're realistically gonna have one. Unless you kind of try to split it up, and it's like you put a first here or whatever, first there, and like these separate deals, you're probably going to have one other big swing at a second star with Luka under this current contract. It's just a matter of who's the right star. Is that star available? Do you have enough to get the star? Does the star want to come here? All of this stuff, lining up. And with AD, is he worth the big swing? I think that's the biggest thing is for Dallas is, is he, if it's even enough, like what is Anthony Davis's trade value right now? Yeah. We're talking about a dude who gets hurt a lot and all of that. There's so many different cons that, well, sure, we can talk about in a second, but why would Dallas go after him? Well, you go after him if you're Dallas by saying, all right, this is the best version of Kristaps Porzingis and Christian Wood if we want to continue doing the big route with Luka Doncic. You believe in, hey, he can be healthy. You believe in, I'm doing all the pros here because I got a list of cons.
You're doing all the pros.
He's 29. He's under contract for a couple more years. He's got a player option in 2024, 2025. So you don't have to worry about free agency right now. You get him for a couple years locked in with Luka. And it's like, all right, you've won a title. You have championship experience. He's a better defender than Kristaps, Porzingis and Christian Wood.
For sure.
Especially when he's healthy. You look at like his averages, he's pretty much a lock for like 23, 24 points, 10 boards, and a couple blocks a game. When he's healthy. And, he should be theoretically on paper in his prime at 29 years old. So if you believe that he can stay healthy, then that's why you try to go after him if you're pro Anthony Davis.
Coming up, maybe a couple more pros, but why should Mavericks not do this? I mean, why would this not happen? And
I'm ready for that.
Why would a trade not work? We'll talk about that coming up. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by BetOnline. Brought to you by LinkedIn. Excuse me, BetOnline. wait your turn. LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like high-stakes wager, just like a trade for an Western Conference All-Star can be a high-stakes wager. You want to be 100% certain you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Go check out LinkedIn. See how easy it is just to post a job. Or if you're a job seeker, go ahead and look for a job on LinkedIn. If all these businesses are putting their jobs on LinkedIn Jobs for free, you can get there and find the job for you. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. You can see what's available, the jobs that are there and everything. It's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Isaac Harris. Let's talk a little bit more about Anthony Davis. So I think you undersold a couple things with Anthony Davis as far as his fit. I think that defensively, he would be an incredible fit with what the Mavs want to do. You have Jason Kidd that has already had him in a system. And when you look at what the Mavs want to do at, defensively, and especially with a big man, the reason why Maxey is getting so much playing time is because he's a mobile big that can defend on the perimeter a little bit and defend at the rim a little bit. You have to have that specific versatility in your game to stay in front of guys, not foul, to be vertical at the rim, and to stay in front of these guards. Like, who was it the other night? Cam Thomas tried Maxey. It's like one of your favorite things that you watch for when a little guard, like a young guard, sizes up Maxey, ISOs on him, is doing the dribble back and forth thing, and then they drive on him, and then Maxey either blocks him or just stops the shot because they just don't expect that to happen. Well, Anthony Davis can do all that stuff incredibly well, and I think that he would fit in such a great way. I also think Luka is a big step up in playmaker right now ahead of LeBron. Where he is in his career. And I know that you would agree with that in spades, but
for sure.
We've gotten to that point in LeBron's career at this point, and in Luka's, that now they have intersected and crossed paths. The streams have crossed, and Luka is ahead of LeBron for sure now. And so then you bring in Anthony Davis, and I wonder if Jason Kidd can convince him to, all right, you're not this jump shooter guy. Just play off of Luka. Play off of Luka in a way that you've played off of other point guards in the past that have worked for you, and not just be this guy that ISOs, because he's one of the worst ISO players in the NBA right now by volume. Yes. He's one of the worst three-point shooters in the NBA right now. Like, that's not what you are. But Luka could turn you and like some of the plays that Luka can pull off for you could be incredible for your career if you just buy into that. But yeah, those are a couple of the positives. Why would the Mavericks not do this?
Yes. So you ready for the rest of the pod? No. I mean, injury history is huge. It feels like, he's getting hurt a lot. You're talking about him playing with Luka and his fit. I just don't like where his body's at.
No.
Like, what happened to, it feels like he's like 34. He's 29. It's like, what happened to the athletic, lanky, New Orleans, Anthony Davis that's catching lobs, that's running the floor a ton, that's just, instead of like bulky body jump shooting.
Well, yeah. It's never a good sign when you're like watching a Lakers game and have the Twitter timeline open, and anytime he falls, you just see Lakers accounts just like all of a sudden show up and be like, oh my God, what is happening?
So that's the two biggest things. What is this form, this version of Anthony Davis? Can he get back to that bubble AD? Can he stay healthy? I mean, those are the two biggest things. And then I think there is a conversation too of, do we want to do round two of, do we want the second swing to be a big? And that's the biggest thing of, I just would prefer, like, can we get a wing or another ball handler as the clear number two next to Luka?
This was my big thing, is that, do you want to do this again with a big man that's going to have questions about his role, that's also going to have injury issues, right? Like, just running the same thing back with a better player, but with a guy with, weirder injury concerns. With Porzingis, it was the big injuries. For Anthony Davis, it's the small he gets the name day-to-day Davis for a reason. One of the reasons why they should do this right now, and the reason why we're talking about this, is because his trade value is probably down right now. Like, he's not this top 10, top 5 player that a lot of people expected him to become when he was coming out and there was all the graphics of him like growing throughout the years, and you saw the projection of him like eventually, and it was like Godzilla was the last one in like 2030 or whatever. He just hasn't become that. Like he plateaued at a certain point. They won the title, and I feel like he just hasn't like changed or projected because of injuries, because of a bunch of different reasons. We've talked to Spencer Dinwiddie and even Porzingis. Should I take a drink with his first healthy offseason?
Here we go.
That one's
Nice stickers.
That one's for old time's sake. But if you spend every offseason rehabbing stuff, you can't get better at your game. That's what seems like what's happened with Anthony Davis. So even though his trade value would be low, yeah, if they would do it for like, Christian Wood, Josh Green, and like something else, or like, a first maybe, you're like, okay, well, I would really think about doing that and take that risk. But if the Lakers are going to be desperate, they're going to ask for stuff. They're going to want some stuff to get rid of Anthony Davis. He's their one like get out of jail free card to get out of this whole situation that they're in. And so for that reason, I'm out.
Yeah, that's what his value is fascinating to me because, if what's the reason the Lakers would trade him? If they could get a Damian Lillard or something like that, then okay, you kind of understand it. If it's like a 1-for-1, they're just trading stars.
I think they're past that. Like they have to be past that now. Like even the trade that everyone was just waiting on it to happen, the Indiana trade with Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, like that's not going to fix this team, right? And so if they're doing an Anthony Davis trade, they're pushing the big red button that should never be pressed by any circumstance, right? Like they're just like, all right, I'm going to press the big red button and just call it all off. LeBron will do whatever. we don't know, but that's the only route Dallas would have a shot at it, is if they just want to reset, they just want to get picks, and they're looking at, and they want to clear up cap space, and they're looking across the league saying, all right, who out there can give us draft picks and who can clear up cap? Because Dallas could then come in and say, all right, Christian Wood, Dwight Powell, Reggie Bullock, and like 3 first-round picks. Yeah.
And at that point, they're getting multiple firsts. At that point, they're clearing up an extra $24 million in cap space. They still have Reggie Bullock. They're still like they can still try to be good this year a little bit. I mean, it doesn't matter because
the Lakers can, or
yeah. and then if you're Dallas in that case, I still don't think that's enough to get Anthony Davis.
No.
Then that gives them a few more picks. Like the Lakers, it gives them a few more picks if they want to use some of those picks to offload Russ at that point and just really try to clear the books and just go all into the summer saying, hey, we got a couple extra firsts and a ton of cap. Let's just try to rebuild this thing. In that case, if you're Dallas, like you're looking at Luka, Dinwiddie, Dorian, Anthony Davis, Maxey, Josh Green, Tim Hardaway, it's just
Anthony Davis making $40 million. You're gonna have to come up with some contracts to make that.
Yeah, that's why I said Christian Wood, Dwight Powell, and Reggie Bullock.
Oof. Can we throw Davis Bertans in there for whatever reason? The Lakers,
they're not gonna take that back.
The Lakers only have LeBron, Anthony Davis, and then a minimum with Max Christie on their books next year. So like this is something that
that's what I'm saying.
They
like
can clear a ton of space.
Yeah, like Dwight and Christian Wood together is 24 million expiring contracts. Reggie's just 10 after that. So it's like if they wanted to do that, that's the only route that I see like Dallas would have a shot in it, but you're including all the picks. Like this is your swing, like because all the picks are going in that deal. I mean, maybe Josh Green would have to go in that deal. And then it's like you're asking that question, is it worth it? And there's probably some people listening to this saying, dude, if you have the chance to get an Anthony Davis, you just got to take the chance. Look at our free agent history. Somebody's typing all caps, in the YouTube comments saying, what about our free agent history? If you can get Anthony Davis, you do that. I'm with you. I lean towards no on this. And that's tough for me to say because it feels like I'm like being picky of like who the next person is next to Luka. It's the injury history. I don't like the trajectory of his
you did that great
of his body and career right now, of just like what he's turned into as a player. That worries the crap out of me. I don't know. I'm just kind of leaning away from it. I'm sorry.
They try. I don't know why you apologizing to the people that are very pro Anthony Davis.
Because I want a second star next to Luka so bad.
It's just got to be the right one.
It has to be the right one, and I just want that. I'm probably to my detriment. I just want it to be a guard or a wing so bad. I just want to see that instead of this a KP 2.0. And it's even though he's better than KP, and I get that. I don't know.
It's the same, but it's the same problems as KP. Even down to the 3-point shooting, where we expected KP to be this incredible 3-point shooter. He came to Dallas and he was shooting 33%.
And even that, you trust KP shooting the 3 more than Anthony Davis right now.
Sure, but I would trust Anthony Davis to defend the rim more than Porzingis, right? Like there's different levels to it, but they're the same problems that come with it. And what would his role be? How would he would you trust him to carry the offense when Luka's not on the floor? It's not happening in LA right now when LeBron's off the floor. Like that's not happening.
Well, there's better teammates here in Dallas that would be better. I mean, the selling point is everything we talked about in the first.
The thing about that though is like that's the epitome of what we want this next star to be. It shouldn't matter what the other teammates are around you. Like you got to carry your load. Like you got to be able to carry a team when Luka's not on the court. That's what the Mavericks need in that second star if you're going to get somebody like that. Or else you're just going to cobble together these role player type teams and then hope to God one year you 2011 the NBA again and like take it over and like just rule with Luka and role players. Like that's the only other way you're going to win unless you get somebody like that can hold their own no matter like, okay, well, he's playing with bad teammates. Well, still put up numbers and still carry a team at times.
I just know the last time JaVale and Anthony Davis started, they won a title. So
not in the finals, but they did all the way up to it.
But your biggest selling point if Dallas went after him would be, hey, Jason Kidd and them believe that they can transform him back to what he was a few years ago, and they believe in his health and all that.
I was gonna say it doesn't matter what Jason Kidd said. It matters what Casey Smith says. The Mavs like head of player medicine or what's his he like got this new title that's head of like.
Speaking of health, we're gonna take a break, then come back and talk about Ben Simmons.
Yeah, you think we were negative about this? Get ready to hear about Ben Simmons. Plus, I got some other trade targets just to watch in the future. Like I got my
Terry Rozier, baby. Terry Rozier.
I wasn't gonna tip mine, but I'm looking on the horizon and I'm seeing a couple of the Mavs could go after. We'll talk about that coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. Now it's your turn, BetOnline. BetOnline is the best place to check out the odds and lines inside and outside of sports. The Mavericks. Do they have the game on? They don't have the game on BetOnline because I bet that they're waiting to see if it's going to get postponed or whatever is going to happen with it. Nets Knicks is a game on Wednesday, though. Nets are home. Who's favored? What's the spread, Isaac Harris?
Knicks by 3.5.
Nets by 2.5.
That's ludicrous.
The Knicks have this weird thing. I saw Hollinger tweet this where they're 5-5. They have the same record at home and away. They've gone 1-1 in overtime games. They're like 14-14 in offensive defensive rating. They're like right in the middle of everything. They're very mid. And the Nets have been playing pretty decent basketball. But yeah, I'd be interested to see if if the Nets do win that one. But yeah, the Nets are favored. You can go check out a whole bunch of other stuff. They have draft stuff already. They obviously have college football playoffs with the rankings coming out again. You can go check that out. It's BetOnline where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris. Ben Simmons. Got to see Ben Simmons in person play against the Mavericks. Luka dropped him on a crossover where he just got twisted all up like Twister. But he could be available in a trade. There was, Sean Devaney had that thing that he said, I would watch the Mavericks for a Ben Simmons type trade. And he's a guy that's plugged in. I don't think that he had any reports. I don't think it was a real rumor about the Mavericks going after him, but maybe that signals that Ben Simmons is possibly available. So
yeah, I think he would be available.
Give me the lowdown on Ben Simmons.
I mean, he makes $35 million this year, 37 next, $40 million 3 years from now.
And for that reason, I'm out.
He's 26 years old. I mean, if he stays the same like what he is now, like, are you paying it? Is this a $40 million DeJuan Blair?
Here's the good question. What is he right now? What is he? I don't know what he is.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Is he a $40 million DeJuan Blair? Like is it that type of guy? I mean, is he a $40 million younger Udonis Haslem? Like, what are we right now? And the two questions I have for the Ben Simmons for anybody wanting to trade for him is, this is like a $6 billion man question here, but can you rebuild him?
And if they rebuild it, will they come?
And then second, is it worth it no matter the cost? Like, even if they just tried to get rid of him and just said,
the Nets
hey,
did.
yeah, the Nets, we just want cap space. Like, we just want to give me a couple expiring.
Restart.
Is his contract worth it no matter the cost, even if you're just giving up an expiring contract? And man, I just don't know. 35, 37, and 40. Like, if he doesn't change at all, I mean, we're talking about one of the worst contracts in basketball in 3 years. Like $40 million. I mean, a guy, he doesn't even look confident. Like, I mean, he was taking a couple right-handed like jump hooks, and it's just like
the last time we saw him play before this season was June of 2021. So it's been a while since we've seen him. So let's give him a little bit.
It's been a while.
Let's give him some time to come back and get acclimated, brand new team and all that. Like, give him a minute. But
I love that you're preaching patience with Ben Simmons.
I will, because I think that it's not fair to just like be like, oh, he's terrible and awful. And
this is cute.
He's terrible and awful, and he's going to be the worst contract. No, he probably is. He probably is going to be the worst contract, but like before the game,
Nick is saving his butt for when they trade for him in 2 weeks.
You guys can clip that. You guys can clip it, and I'll be ready. But like, I saw him warming up before the game, and I like to go down and watch in person. Like, he moves his hands at the end of his jump shot, and he wouldn't take jumpers. And all right, before I even went down there, someone told me that he was out there warming up and just doing like runs and dunks and stuff, and just not really taking it real serious, just kind of being casual, which is fine. A lot of players do that. But there are some fans, some like Mavs fans in the crowd still. There's not very many. They were screaming at Ben Simmons like, why don't you take a jumper? Why don't you take a jump shot? And he started to take some jumpers after that, like went to the free throw line, started taking and just clunked all of them. Like, just completely smoked them. Like, just like didn't even hit any of them. And then I saw him take some mid-range shots and just not make them. And then I saw him warm up rolling, like being the roll man and rolling to the rim. And you're like, I guess that's a cool thing, but like, that's where he is at this point in his career. He's not even one of the main ball handlers at a certain point.
If his contract was like 30% of what it was, I would be like, you know what? Take the swing. Like, the talent, like super athletic, put him next to Luka and convince him, be the better version of a Dwight Powell like type thing. But there's just nothing right now.
Then his JJ Redick interview where he's like, I'm a star, and which you want him to have that confidence, I guess. But like, I don't know, maybe come back from your injury and all the mental health stuff and everything that you said all over the off seasons, and I don't know. But yeah, so
we'll just have a team full of role players who think they're all.
It's a no for me on Ben Simmons. What if it was Tim and Davis and that's it?
I don't know, man. I mean, yeah.
Davis is not playing. Tim is coming back from injury too.
I'm trying to envision what our podcast would be in that emergency pod.
Here we go again. That's what we would do. We would just get on and be like, here we go with another.
You know what, Nick? He's 6'10".
I can't.
He's athletic. I mean, they can rebuild him.
I can't imagine Ben Simmons and Christian Wood like really getting along and being like, all right, this is gonna work perfectly. Or
no, I'm an all-star. No, I'm an all-star.
Or they would be best friends and it would work really well and it'd be really funny.
If we
they cover each other's weaknesses really well, actually, if you think about it.
If we think Luka gets frustrated with some other teammates, then the moment Ben Simmons passes up a lob or a dunk
or airballs a floater at the rim.
If you just do a small what if it did work out and he did rebuild himself, you have this like awesome perimeter defender.
That'd be fun.
All right, so who's some other names that we can talk about?
If you built him up, he'd be like the all-star version of what Josh Green is for us for the Mavs right now, right? Like,
yeah, it's like, Ben, come be the second best Australian player on this team.
Here's a couple other trade targets I've got my eyes on. Okay, give me Terry Rozier. Just say Terry Rozier's name because that's your.
So I got one. Charlotte guard Terry Rozier would be a great.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah, we got our Terry Rozier mention of the podcast.
Okay. Do you have any outside of like the Indiana and Utah guys? Let's just like cross them off.
Yeah, I got two big ones that I kind of want to save. So give me the.
Well, I'm just saying that we've just talked about them a ton. Like, do they revisit Miles Turner? Do the Buddy Hield, Tim Hardaway, Spider-Man meme? Is it anything with that worth it? the Utah guys, we know Jordan Clarkson, all those, like at some point they're probably going to trade some of these guys. I just want to cross them off because they're the obvious sellers that some of those guys will be traded at some point. And I think a handful of those guys would fit fine in Dallas. Like Buddy would fit in Dallas, be fine.
So does
Miles
Tim.
Turner would fit. Like Clarkson would fit. So just for the sake of conversation, do you have some other ones?
The Jazz are number 1 in the West, though, so it's the conversation around them has changed a little bit. They're not this desperate, like, we gotta get rid of these guys. But maybe they will be if they win too much, and they're like, hey, we don't think this team's gonna win anything, but what are we doing? Okay, in the Eastern Conference, team that recently made the finals, the Miami Heat are 4-7.
Yes. Tell me more.
Their title window is closed. I listened to Locked On Heat, and Wes and David Ramil have basically did a funeral the other day for their title window. They're like, it's done.
They also think 2006 was not rigged, and
so they're just wrong about everything.
I mean,
but they are also like David Ramil gets pretty high on Heat stuff, and when he thinks the title window is closed, like I'm gonna believe him on that. Like I'm gonna
he gets pretty high on Heat stuff.
I'm gonna trust on that. Jimmy Butler would be a great fit. Playoff player, shows up in big games. You look at his 3-point numbers and they're very deceiving. But he can handle his own when Luka would be off the floor. He'd also be able to defend and score buckets when you need him to. Like just a perfect fit. It would be interesting to try and trade for him because
this would have to be a reset for Miami.
It would be a huge reset for the Heat. Butler's also 33 now, which I guess is not as old as I thought he was about to be. But the timelines are not exactly perfect on that. It'd be interesting, but that's what I'm keeping my eye on. If the Heat continue to be bad, they're 4-7 now. If they just continue and this is it, like they're a play-in team or not, like do they decide to make that move and be like, all right, let's rebuild around Hero and Bam and figure out what else we got to do?
Oh, I like that. If they can get Jimmy Butler, go get Jimmy Butler. Oh. That would be awesome next to Luka. I have a couple just random names. Fred VanVleet. What's going on with him in Toronto? He has a player option after this year. Are they going to hold on?
I just heard Sean Woodley from Locked On Raptors just pass out somewhere.
they obviously have their wing guys. Him and Gary Trent have player options for this offseason. I'm assuming both of them are going to opt out to get new deals. If Toronto's not comfortable with giving another big contract, I would be very interested in one Fred VanVleet in Dallas next to Luka.
Oh, incredible fit. It'd be like everything Brunson does, but better defense.
And then a wild card for me is, does Sacramento ever entertain De'Aaron Fox? I know they traded Halliburton.
I thought about Sabonis too, because the Kings, their start just looks really bad, and they really want to make the playoffs. And I don't know.
Is Fox a good enough star to make the swing for?
I would like to see him not in Sacramento.
I know.
I would like to see the situation with him not in Sacramento. Like, does that tell us enough about him to
That's why I throw it out, because he's not a superstar to where I think what Dallas could offer would be something realistic of what he would go for compared to like some of these other guys, some of these other teams paying like a crazy price, outbidding Dallas. Like De'Aaron Fox is not worth 6 first-round draft picks, stuff like that. But is he good enough player to swing with the assets Dallas has? And I'm kind of on the fence about it.
I mean, he'd be a great fit. Let's not beat around the bush. Oh, yeah. He'd be great. We're talking about second star, definite all-star, like that kind of player. I got one more for you. Kawhi Leonard is shot, right? Like, I don't know if this thing is ever going to come back to where they're like real title contenders if this is the way he's starting this season.
So why would you trade for him?
Clippers, hold on. Good Lord. Clippers are 6-5. They're supposed to be this really deep team. But at what point do they decide, all right, let's restart here because this Kawhi Paul George thing is not going to work, and let's try again.
No, I would love.
And they trade Paul George.
I mean, I feel like he would just go for more than what Dallas has to offer. Kind of like SGA. I mean, SGA has been one of my dream targets for Dallas, but now he's playing so dang good. He's so young that if they put him on the market, like he's going to get like 5 first-round picks. Like there's Dallas get outbid. I just feel like Dallas would get outbid for Paul George, but
for sure, and for a lot of these. But we thought they would get outbid for KP and some other like Some other players get traded for deals, and you're like, hold on, what? That was it? Like,
true.
Sometimes you never know about
like
this
Christian Wood.
Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Go ahead and check out Locked On Sports Today, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!